All these names. Very cool.
Lots of people coming in.
Sophia, Herbert, Michael.
Hello, all. Welcome to our last session of Internship Week. It's been an amazing week, and I'm thrilled that you're here today. We'd like you to know that this session is all about LinkedIn. So Daniel will share that information with you today. I am going to start with a poll. So Josh, can you please post the first poll? What is your level of knowledge about writing a LinkedIn profile? Okay, we've got some toggling going on here. Let's see where we end up. It's like spinning the wheel of fortune. And we have a mix. We had 20 to 40% is our, if you could end the poll now, please, Josh. 20 to 40% is the winner. And we have people at 0 to 20% as well as 40 to 60%. All right, so make sure you do a screenshot of that, Josh, and then we'll go on to our next poll. Right. The next question is, what is your level of knowledge about connecting with a recruiter through LinkedIn? Okay, it's that wheel of fortune. Mostly 0 to 20%, I'm seeing. Couple more people coming in. Great. We are, could you end the poll, please? And we're at 0 to 20% is the majority. So we'll see what happens when we get to the end. All right, we're going to close that poll and screenshot. All right, thank you, Josh. So I would like to introduce our speaker today. And our speaker is Daniel Levitch. He, after graduating from CSUN in 2004, Daniel went on to receive his Master's of Science in Educational Counseling and a Pupil Personnel Services credential. He was the program manager of a Los Angeles County WorkSource Center and worked with the College of Canyons Career Center before becoming a career counselor for Cal State University Northridge. He's hosted many seminars on networking, developing your online presence, the hidden job market, and more, all in an effort to better prepare students for the workforce. Daniel also loves good food, bad movies, and an ugly dogs. Take it away, Daniel.
Thank you for that introduction, Jan. It is much appreciated. Yeah, so I was asked about a month ago if I would be okay hosting, presenting a workshop on building your LinkedIn. So this is a primer on putting your LinkedIn page together. If after you sort of build the skeleton and start adding the meat to it, if you want to get a full critique, I am happy to do a critique for you. I'll put my email address in the chat a little bit later, and I'm happy to sort of take it to that next level after this presentation. So why LinkedIn? Well, a lot of reasons, actually. My wife is a recruiter for an engineering firm, and she gave me a little bit of insight as to how recruiters go about seeking out potential employees to work at their place of business. And one of the things she told me is that recruiters don't like to admit it, but they will Google search you. They will literally go to Google, type in your name, and see what they can find. They'll pour over, page after page, looking for information about you. And it used to be really popular back in the day to suggest to our students to just go ahead and lock up all your social media, right? Your Facebook, your Instagram, just lock it up tight so nobody can see anything. But that had this sort of weird adverse counter reaction where recruiters started saying, wait a second, I can't find anything on this person. Does this person even exist? And so what they ended up doing was, by and large, filling in the blanks. If they couldn't open up your social media, oftentimes they would say, well, maybe there's a reason they don't want me to see it. Maybe there's inappropriate pictures on there that they don't want me to see. So I love LinkedIn because, well, for a number of reasons. One, it's high on any sort of Google search list, right? So once they type in your name and they find your LinkedIn page, they don't have to scroll page after page looking for it. Now, it's an opportunity to leave some of the social media that you don't want, that you want to keep private, and still give recruiters something to look at, something of value, something that projects an image that you're hoping to project about yourself. I love LinkedIn. I think it's the perfect marriage between networking and developing your online presence, which are two workshops that I have hosted in the past and feel really strongly about. So without further ado, I'm going to kind of dive in here. I'm going to share my screen. And what you're seeing right now is my LinkedIn page. And I'm going to basically break down the different aspects of what you can put on LinkedIn and sort of define how it's different from a traditional resume. When LinkedIn first started, it had a kind of a reputation as just essentially being your resume online. But as it's developed, it's become much more of a living sort of document that can showcase what it is that you do, your experience. It showcases your education in a way that just a single sheet of paper is unable to do. So one of the things I think I'd put under the category of catch-22, on a resume, you're not supposed to put a photo of yourself. But on LinkedIn, it's the first thing people see about you, and is definitely a requirement to make sure you get the eyes of recruiters on there. So make sure you have a really nice professional photo. I love the photo that I've got here because it's got a nice infinite white background. Something that's not overly distracting is usually nice, or at least something that's in line with your field, your line of work. And if you notice that my photo is cut off at the shoulder area, that's really kind of a typical headshot that you can expect to see in a LinkedIn photo. Anytime you want to build your LinkedIn, it's really simple to do. Right over here, where you see this sort of pen or pencil mark here on the right-hand side of a LinkedIn page, anytime you click on that, you can easily upload a photo for your profile pic. You can upload a photo for your background pic. Again, for your background, you're going to want to choose something that is appropriate to your field. I'm a counselor, so I'm choosing a somewhat serene image for my backdrop. But try to think about something that is unique and specific to your field. I'm actually, instead of going through my page, while I think that my page is somewhat decent and I put a lot of work into it in preparation for this particular presentation, I'm actually going to go to someone else's page that I know and kind of show it off a bit here. So this gentleman's name is Corin Young, and he works in the film industry. So you can see he has a typical headshot like we talked about earlier. With him behind him, he's got his audio board right there, so he can show off that he is not just someone trying to get into the industry, right? There's an immediate visual representation there. He's not just somebody trying to get into it. He's saying, I'm a part of it. I'm already a part of it by virtue of what you're seeing here, and then he's going to back it up in the actual LinkedIn page itself. And same with his background, right? He's got an image that has a green screen on it, various audio levels and whatnot. So you can see right there, this tells me that Corin, without even diving in or reading it, it tells me something about him. Next, you'll see obviously his name under there, but he has a sort of headline here, right? He just puts down video producer and creative director. Ask yourself what you want your LinkedIn page to be. What LinkedIn does really well is laser focus your goals, laser focus your talents and your abilities. What it doesn't do so well is sort of give little bits of everything. If you are interested in film, but you're also interested in psychology, and you're also interested in this other thing and that other thing, it doesn't do scattered really well. So take some time to think about what it is, what is the image you're looking to present about yourself. Scrolling down here, you'll get a chance to see his bio in the About section here. Similar to what Jan read about mine, the bio that Jan read is actually on my LinkedIn page. Corin has his own, and I've seen this done a number of ways. I've seen it done in first person. I've seen it done in third person. There's no cookie cutter approach to it. Just think about it's somewhat akin to a cover letter on your LinkedIn page. So think about what it is you want to address in there. In Corin's case, he addresses it a little bit like a past, present, and future. He talks a little bit about what got him interested in this, what he's currently doing, and then potential goals as well. I can see here by looking at his page. Now, if I'm a recruiter, this is really important. I can see that he's active on LinkedIn. A lot of people I know say, oh, I have a LinkedIn, but then I ask, do you use it? And 95% of the time I hear, not really. It's just sort of there. You want to be active on your LinkedIn. When you're active on LinkedIn, when you post articles, comment on other people's postings and whatnot, you show up on other people's timelines. You show up more often, and that puts you on recruiters' radars, and that's really important. Then we go into the experience, and this is sort of similar to the experience on a resume, but what makes this so different is that you can add photos and video demonstrating what it is that you do so well, right? So for example here, Corin has, as the director of post-production, he has different featurettes that he's created. Now, it doesn't have to be film specific. On my LinkedIn, for example, I have a variety of photos showing me presenting to various classes at various events. So whatever it is that you do in your industry, start documenting it. If you don't have the camera on my old iPhone 6 isn't so hot, so I might use somebody else's. Don't be afraid to ask friends for help. Networking and building those relationships is a big part of your time here at CSUN. Don't be afraid to tap into that. And so in LinkedIn, you can post photos, you can post short videos, you can even post documents. So if you've got a document that you feel like represents you in the field, maybe it's a homework assignment that you did that you're really particularly proud about, that demonstrates your point of view in your field, don't be afraid to upload that. So we can see here he's got, a variety of experiences here. Similar to a resume, he still bullet points out his job duties. You still see the time period of when he worked there. You see where he worked. You see his job title as well. And then what's really cool is that they have the little icons here that kind of helps bring this to life a little bit more. So we can see RK Studios or Deluxe, where Corin worked, are shown here on the LinkedIn page. We also have an education portion that can go in depth into your educational experiences here at CSUN. You could talk about different clubs and organizations you joined and add that here to your LinkedIn page. Again, with any section here that you're adding to, you'll just go ahead and click on the little pencil. Oh no, I'm on Corin's page, so I don't have it here. But on my page, I would have a little pencil there that you can click on to edit it. So Corin also has, in addition to education, he also has his volunteer experience. Don't be afraid to add your volunteer experience. It is definitely a form of experience. Experience comes in a variety of forms. It comes in terms of professional experience, paid experience. It can come in terms of internships, paid or unpaid, and volunteer experience. So it's a great section to add onto your LinkedIn page. And then probably my favorite portion of LinkedIn that makes it such a beautiful complement to a resume is the skills and endorsements section. So you can see here, Corin has added a number of skills. He says, listen, I'm telling you, I am good at post-production. But if I'm in an interview or put that on my resume, the recruiter has to take it at face value. There's no way for me to prove that I'm good at something like post-production or video production. But on LinkedIn, it's not just me saying it. I'm not just making some wild claim. There are here 99 plus people agreeing with Corin, saying, yeah, I can tell you, I can vouch for Corin. And that, having somebody vouch for you is like gold when it comes to finding employment. So and it's really easy. When it comes to skills and endorsements, you don't have to actually reach out to other people on your LinkedIn. So the way it works is you connect with individuals on LinkedIn, right? You connect with classmates that you built a rapport with. You connect at perhaps a conference that you went to. You connect with coworkers. And as you build your connections, when they sign into LinkedIn, there's a little section at the top that says, would you care to endorse so-and-so in this skill? So it's done passively. Corin didn't have to go out and solicit 99 plus people to agree with him that he's good at post-production. He just listed that he's good at post-production or skills and had other people, his connections, go in and click that they agree with him that he is good at that. So it's a really easy way to start building your credibility in your field. There's a step further that it can go, and this is where you would actually solicit an endorsement, and that is under recommendations. Corin here has 11 recommendations that he's posted, right? So this person, Paul, says, we recently worked with Corin to create an audio version of a book I wrote and also create a promo video for the same book. His work ethic is exemplary. He's so cool to work with, very diligent, very focused, always on time, always does what he says, an absolute delight. That is for a recruiter who has to make a multi-$1,000 decision based on very limited information. That is, I mentioned earlier that it's gold, but I mean, there's not a better way to say it. It truly is gold. It builds your credibility. So for someone like Paul, Corin may have reached out to, emailed, and just said, "Hey, I'm looking to break into this field, or I'm looking to build my LinkedIn page. Would you mind writing a recommendation for me?" And the way it usually works is that if I'm going to solicit that from Paul, I'll ask Paul if he would like me to write one for him as well. And so we're kind of trading recommendations. That's really common practice on something like LinkedIn. So you can see here, this tells me Corin is in fact who he says he is, who he claims to be. There's another list here for accomplishments, and if you have any sort of extracurricular accomplishments that you're proud of, that you feel like might be related but not necessarily fall under your work experience or your education, it's a great place to put it. But this also tells me that Corin is interested. There's a separate section here at the bottom for interests. Interests basically are different pages that you follow on LinkedIn. Right, so Corin follows Deluxe. Deluxe is a post-production house in the film industry. That tells me that he's involved, that he's up to date on current trends in the industry, has an idea of not just trends, but he can walk the walk and talk the talk as well. He has an idea of the vernacular that is associated with the industry. So make sure you fill out your interests, because not only does it tell me as a recruiter something about you, but it starts to tailor your LinkedIn page specifically to you. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Let me bring up one more thing here. So one thing you can use LinkedIn for, in addition to just having a page that you might be actively building and actively getting yourself involved with, one thing that it's really good for is networking, right? So networking comes in a variety of different ways. One, you have recruiters who pay money for a premium LinkedIn page, a recruiter's page, where they are linked up with different pages who have key terms that they're looking for. So you want to make sure you've got key terms, just as you would in your resume. You want to have key terms sprinkled throughout your LinkedIn page, because those LinkedIn pages then end up on recruiters' desks who are looking for potential candidates. Another way to build your network is to use what's called your second-degree connections. And your second-degree connections come in the form of connections of connections. So, for example, on my LinkedIn page, I'm going to bring mine up again here. On my LinkedIn page, I have 363 connections. Those were built over the course of the last 10 to 15 or so years. It started off, with just a few connections here, a few connections there, and it starts to roll. They start to recommend connections to you, and it starts to build. I don't recommend just connecting with everybody willy-nilly. My personal preference, and it is a personal preference, is to connect with people who you have at least met with or had somebody connect you in the past. Just to play it safe, I believe that it's important to also protect yourself, especially in an online world. So my 363 connections have a certain level of value to me, but the sort of hidden value that's not necessarily there on the surface is that now I'm connected with their friends, with their connections, right? So let's say, for example, that I'm interested in breaking into the video game industry, right? I'm going to use that as an example. I make a list of video game companies whose product maybe I consume. One company, I'm a League of Legends fan, so one company that I'm interested in connecting with might be Riot Games, right? So I type in Riot Games here. I've typed that in the past, and that's going to bring me to their page. And what I'm going to see here after I click on people, so I'm interested in who works for Riot Games, right? Because I want to connect with somebody at Riot Games. I want to set up, let's say, an informational interview where I can ask them about their field. I can ask them about, what they do, what they like about their job, what they don't like about their job, what's a typical entry-level job in this field. I can ask them a variety of questions, because when I ask them a variety of questions, something really interesting happens. The moment that they answer your question is the moment that they become invested in your story. Right? They want to know how it ends. They're now part of your story. And so what you can do is after your interview, after you're done interviewing them, you can now build that relationship. You can take the time to email them back. You say thank you for it. You can tell them that you took their advice about something, and you can now start to build that relationship with them, so that when it comes time to actually seek employment, seek an internship, you can call upon them to help you navigate those sort of sometimes muddy waters. They can maybe recommend an internship to you. They can recommend an entry-level position to you because you've gone about building that relationship through setting up an informational interview. So the way I'm going about looking for somebody to set up an informational interview with is through LinkedIn. I will go to some place like Riot Games, click on people who work there, and look and see. I'm going to start to go through and say, okay, who is someone here? This person here, Rachel Ashley, is in recruiting. I can see here that I'm a second degree connection, right? So she's not one of my connections, but that means we share a connection in common. And actually, Jan, oddly enough, it's one of your former students, Guy Imberman here. So I click on Ashley's profile. I see that we are connected through this person, Guy. And what that means, what I can do is one of a couple of different things. I can reach out to Guy and I can say, hey, Guy, looks like we have got a mutual connection in the form of one Rachel Ashley. Is there any way you can kind of do a soft opening for me? Can you help me connect with this person? Because we're both on LinkedIn, it's pretty standard practice to help each other connect with other people. Networking is the name of the game in LinkedIn, right? And because I know Guy, he may be able to help me help introduce me to Rachel. Another way I can go about doing it is I can go about messaging Rachel, but messaging Rachel comes at a cost. To message people on LinkedIn, you actually have to use their LinkedIn premium service. And I actually have it written down here. Their premium service gives you 3 messages a month for $29.99 a month. I'm not a huge fan of spending a lot of money if I can help it. It may end up being an option for you if you need to, but there are other avenues that I want to exhaust first, right? So in this case, maybe I'm not going to do the LinkedIn Premium just yet because I'm going to start exploring. I'm going to put on my Sherlock Holmes hat and start looking here. There's one section here that says contact info. I'm going to click on contact info because oftentimes that could be a workaround. Sometimes people will put their email address and I could just bypass the message here and go right to their email address. So I'm going to click on contact info. Now, in this case, there's no email address. There is a LinkedIn profile here. There's a LinkedIn URL here. But wait a second, there's also her website. Let's check it out. I'm going to click on her website. And I see here, okay. It looks to be a character design site. What happens here? Oh, if I click here on more, contact info, boom. I did a little bit of digging and I was able to find Rachel's email address that I can now try to reach out and connect with her. And then I'd say something as simple as, I'm a student at Cal State Northridge, really interested in this particular line of work, found you on LinkedIn. Would you have any time out of your day to set up an interview where I can ask you about your field? Let me go back in here. So that's a way that I'm going to use LinkedIn for networking purposes. LinkedIn's got lots of potential features that I want to show off as well. Let me go back to my homepage here. So you can check out LinkedIn's jobs tab here. If I click on jobs, I can research jobs through LinkedIn by searching for title, skill, or company in a particular city that I might be interested in. There's also LinkedIn Learning, which we have as part of your tuition at CSUN. You have access to LinkedIn Learning. If you weren't a student at CSUN, you would actually have to pay for LinkedIn Learning. So this is one of those features that I think is absolutely invaluable. I highly recommend it. You can find it in your portal. LinkedIn Learning is really, really cool because it tailors suggestions to your page, right? So when I click on LinkedIn Learning, I see a lot of career-oriented tutorials that I can take. I highly recommend checking out LinkedIn Learning. The other thing that I love here is that if I click on my main page here, I'm going to move move your videos over for a moment. I also see here on the right-hand side, LinkedIn News. LinkedIn News also tailored to my particular preferences, my particular interests on LinkedIn here. So I have a lot here. Let's see, I've got the first one here, tackling unconscious bias. I have an interesting news article here on United is about to furlough workers, wage boost from the stimulus package. So I have all sorts of things that are tailored to me as a career counselor. And based on your interests, LinkedIn News will be different for you because it's going to tailor it specifically to your interests. I talked about LinkedIn Premium. A couple of notes that are really worth pointing out as well. Just beware that when you click on somebody else's page on LinkedIn, that they can likely see who looks at your pages. So when I log in the morning, I can see that certain people have looked at my page. Worth noting that it's important to realize that when you go to someone else's page, they can definitely see what it is, who it is that went to their page. Oh, one more thing I definitely want to mention is customizing your URL. So I see a lot of people post on their resume a link to their LinkedIn page. The way you go about doing that, instead of just copy and pasting the URL because it's a lot of gobbledygook up there, what you could do is just click on the me portion here where this little arrow is and go to view profile, and then edit public profile and URL here. And that'll give you the opportunity. See, I'll have something much more succinct here. That now it'll just be linkedin.com/in/Daniel Levitch. And you can customize it to yours. So if you want to use your name or if you want to use something slightly different, you can edit that here and it'll give you your own personalized URL that you can put on your LinkedIn page or your, along with your email signature. So they have a link to your sort of online portfolio. Oh, on the homepage, let me go back here. One thing that I highly recommend is participating in the conversation. So a lot of people will build their LinkedIn page. They'll reach out to a few people in network, but people who are using LinkedIn to its maximum potential are linking articles that they've read that are relevant to their field, and they're writing articles that are relevant to their field, because that's the kind of thing that takes you from being someone who is interested in breaking in to somebody who is already in the field and is thus more desirable to a recruiter. Don't be afraid to write your own articles and start posting them on LinkedIn. Start posting videos, if you do that. Start posting photos of you in the field. Start participating in the conversation. You can see here on the right-hand side, you can write articles. And I'll tell you, people who, when I log into LinkedIn and I see people who post articles, they are much more memorable and much more on my radar than people who are just reaching out to me, asking if I can help them somehow on LinkedIn. So be part of the conversation, be a contributor to that conversation, and thus to your field as well. Let me check in really quick here. Do we have any questions right now, Jen?
Yes, so we have one question that says, hi, are we able to get an access to this recording later on?
I'm gonna let Jan answer that one.
The answer is yes, and Josh here dropped the link to our YouTube page. So all of these events were actually live streamed, and all students will have access to all, I believe, 15 events that were held over this entire week on CSUN Career Center's YouTube page. And it looks like we have another question, Daniel.
Okay.
All right, so who should we or should not connect with on our LinkedIn? Example, professors, friends, people we don't know, etc.
So I don't tend to link or connect with people I don't know. It's okay. You can if you're going to try to connect with your professor, I always ask if it's okay to do so. And more often than not, they'll be okay with it. You do get some professors who are uncomfortable with the idea for whatever reason. Maybe they'll link in with you, after when you're no longer their student. That's certainly a possibility. But just ask first when it comes to professors. But I tend to link in with people who are coworkers, with fellow students who are now part of my network. I will link in with people I've met at any sort of a professional organization or an event, people of that variety.
All right, and I got another question, but it was privately sent to me. How would I go about asking people to endorse my skills on LinkedIn?
Sure. I would just drop them an email and just say, hey, I'm building my LinkedIn page. I'm at the endorsements section here where it asks for people to endorse me in a particular skill. In this case, it might be, let's say, communication or whatever skill you're interested in. And just say, hey, would you mind writing, maybe a paragraph or so, about that time that we worked together, on this particular project. I'm happy to return the favor and write one for you as well if you so desire.
Thank you. Thanks, Daniel. And then there's another one here. Can I use LinkedIn to get a mentor?
I think that LinkedIn is a great opportunity to build the relationship that a mentorship might blossom from. So I would start again with that sort of informational interview, build that relationship, stay in touch with that person, and then you can always reach out and say, hey, you know what? I love our conversations. I'm learning a lot from it. Would you be interested in possibly being my mentor? But I don't think you just ask right off the bat. I think you need to build that relationship first.
Perfect. And next question is, hi, is it secure to post our resume on LinkedIn?
Is it secure to post a resume on LinkedIn? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Maybe the question is about, is it safe for students to post like that information about themselves?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Mhm.
I wouldn't post your address on LinkedIn. I would keep that, but there is definitely a boundary that I'm not going to cross. I'm going to post information about, my work experience, but I'm not necessarily going to post, the address of my work. I'm not going to necessarily post my phone number on the contact. So those kind of information, that kind of, more private information, I'm not posting on LinkedIn.
Got it. Thanks, Daniel. And there's another one that was sent to me. Is it all right for me to interact with posts of others that I've connected with on LinkedIn but don't personally know? I'm
Yeah,
interested in their company.
absolutely. You can interact. I always say keep it positive. You don't want it to turn into a negative place. If somebody posts something that you disagree with, you still want to think about ways to keep it positive, because other people are gonna see your posts, other people are gonna see your comments, and so you want it to reflect positively on you as well.
Thanks, Daniel. And this is another question. This is
Love
out
it.
of
Keep
topic,
coming.
but do you think we should post our address on our resume?
Um, all right, so there are a couple of schools of thought, but here's what I think. I think that having your address on your resume lends a certain level of credibility and stability for a recruiter. But I'm also a big believer in confidence being key in obtaining employment, which means that if you are uncomfortable putting your address, I wouldn't put it. I might put my city where I live, but I wouldn't put my address, because I want to walk into that interview as confident as I can. Confident often translates to, in a recruiter's eyes, to competence and the ability to get the job done. So I am all about building my confidence level. And if I'm insecure about putting my address on for whatever reason, we have a variety of reasons that might be the case, then I'm not putting it on there.
Got it. And for our next question, as a student seeking an internship, what should I write about in the About section?
I would talk about what got you interested in this field to begin with. What was that sort of aha moment that set you on this path? And then what you decided to do about it, right? If you decided to go to school for it, if you decided to build your experience through volunteerism or work experience, talk about that. Talk about what you're currently doing to build your expertise in the field, to build your skills in the field, and then ultimately where you want to go with it. What are your goals with it? And don't be afraid under the education portion to add specific courses that you've taken if you're going for an internship, specific courses that you've taken showing that you're qualified for this internship.
Thanks, Daniel. And then we have a couple more questions. The next one is, can people have two different LinkedIn profiles showing different skills in different occupations? Example, one is art and the other is engineering.
While I am a big fan of having multiple business cards, because you never know what business card you're going to need in a particular situation. If I'm in film, for example, but I have a wide variety of interests, maybe I've got one for editing, maybe I've got one for camera work, maybe I've got one for screenwriting, whatever the case might be. I love that for business cards. For LinkedIn, where people can, or for LinkedIn where people can search for you, it can become really confusing really fast, which is why I recommended early that the more sort of laser focused you are, and you're going to have to make some choices on what sort of online presence, what sort of online persona you want to project. I think that the more sort of tailored to that specific persona, the better. I would not have more than one LinkedIn. I think that gets really confusing really fast for recruiters.
Got
And
it.
at the end of the day, for a recruiter, clarity is paramount.
Thanks, Daniel. And then this is another one that was sent to me. It says, how helpful are joining groups on LinkedIn?
I think it's incredibly helpful. I think that, well, it's as helpful as you make it. You can join groups and sit by passively and it's no help at all. But you can join groups and participate in the conversation. And then when opportunities come up, you are on their radar. I've used that phrase a number of times, being on somebody's radar, but that's what really this is all about. You don't want to be in a situation where you're just applying for a job and you are in one of a giant stack of resumes, right? You want to be on their radar so that they're looking for your resume. So they're asking you, seeking it out. They're asking you to submit your resume to them. So they're looking for you as opposed to you just sort of blindly submitting resumes. So you want to be on people's radars. You want to be on not just recruiters' radars, because I think it's easy to get sort of laser focused on recruiters, but be on the radar of people who are movers and shakers in the industry, people who will contact the recruiter and say, hey, you need to speak with this person. This person's a dynamo. And so that's what you want to do. You want to build those relationships with movers and shakers in your industry.
All right. And this is another one that was sent to me. Don't be shy, guys. You can post them on the chat as well. But is it helpful for me to post things on LinkedIn, such as a new job update? Will this hurt my chances of getting my dream job at my dream company?
A new job. What do you mean by a new job update? Can I just get some clarity right there? Do you mean like you were promoted at your place of work? Is that what you mean?
Let me see if the student applies. They got hired at a new job, but it's not their dream company. So if they would post it on LinkedIn, would it hurt their chances of future getting hired in their dream company?
So there's an old adage in recruiting, I guess really in life, that says nobody wants to be first, but everyone wants to be second. If somebody else is willing to take a flyer on you, if someone else is willing to hire you, that makes you much more desirable to other recruiters. I would absolutely post that if I've gotten a new job, if I've been promoted, that makes you look really good and really desirable to recruiters.
Got it. All right, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free, just send them through the chat.
Sure. And real quick, Jessica, I just wanted to mention, with regards to connecting with recruiters on LinkedIn, it's okay if you're not already connected. It's okay to click that connect button because you do have a section where you can introduce yourself. Just let the recruiter know when you click connect that you're interested in getting involved in this industry, but not just the industry, but that particular organization, right? If I want to be, I've been using film as an example, but if I want to be in film, why am I interested in Warner Brothers? And you might have to get it down to one sentence, right? Or why am I interested in Disney? You might have to get it down to one sentence, because it's okay to connect with them, because recruiters want to build their talent pool, right? They're hoping to build that talent pool. So it's okay to click that connect button with recruiters on LinkedIn. They may or may not accept it, but if they do accept it, always be sure to follow up with a more extensive message to them, thanking them for connecting with you and giving them a little bit of background on who you are. Again, your focus in school and kind of your end goals. Don't be afraid to do that. Recruiters connect with people all the time that they've never met before on LinkedIn, but you want to send that initial message along with that connection request.
Okay, Daniel, shall we move back to your presentation?
I think we're good right there. Are there any other questions? I'm open for Q&A at this point.
Any other questions? I do have a question, Daniel, if it was all right. What do you think about connecting to, like in our case, CSUN alumni? Would that be more beneficial for us to try and maybe break into that industry if that alumni was part of, let's say, Disney, and I want to work at Disney?
Yeah, alumni. Anytime you have something in common with someone, that's always a good thing to play up. If you are both alumni of the same university Absolutely lead with that. It gives you that initial human, like person-to-person connection, and play that up. Don't be afraid to. It's why people wear certain pins on their lapel or rings, or have something in their office that someone can talk about or mention. Anytime you have those like little moments of connection with somebody, it goes a long way.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other questions? Once again, I just want to reiterate, when it comes to online presence, you're going to get Google searched, right? They might not admit it. They very well, most likely will not admit it, but they will Google search you. So what I do, my wife makes fun of me for this all the time, but I will Google search myself once a month. And the first of every month, I type in my name and I want to see what's out there, right? And if I see, if it reflects the image that I'm looking to project, great. That's what I'm hoping for. But sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes you might have done something in your past that you're not, happy with, or maybe you changed industries and now you're trying to like reshape your online presence. And if that's the case, there are a few ways you can handle that, right? You can reach out to individuals who maybe posted, and you can say, hey, I'm changing industries, or I'm trying to break into the world of work here. Do you mind taking that down? You can certainly do that. And that has a certain level of success, but sometimes you still can't scrub it all clean. One of the ways, I guess, the metaphor that I'm going to use is that of an oil spill, right? When there's an oil spill, the cleanup crew, their goal isn't to get rid of all the oil in the ocean when there's an oil spill. That's impossible to do. So what they do is they scrape as much as they can off, and then they flood the waters with clean water to the point where the oil spill is negligible. That's what you can do with something like LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, with your own website, with your own blog, with your own online portfolio. With things like that, you're flooding the waters. And so you're making it where once a recruiter goes through those first three things, they see your LinkedIn, they see your online portfolio, they see a few things that helps them create an image of yourself. It sort of pieces the puzzle together. Once they have that image of you, they're not going to keep looking until they get to page 16, 17 of a Google search. They found what they needed. You have verified what it is you've said. You've verified what it is that they're looking for, and you've done your job. So when it comes to developing your online presence, don't be afraid to flood the waters. Don't be afraid to reshape your image by putting additional content online that reflects the image that you're looking to project. And I think with that, unless there are any more questions, I'm just going to put it out there one more time. Is there any? I see Mia says, what is when you Google yourself? What if when you Google yourself, nothing comes up? Okay, I'm going to be real honest with you here. You want to have something come up on Google, because when recruiters search for you, they need to feel like there is somebody that they're actually searching for. They need it builds legitimacy, to you as a human being for them, right? They Google search you, and now they see you are okay. This person's a real person. It creates a real mental picture for them. If you don't see anything, there's no time like the present. Start posting. Start building your LinkedIn now, so that when it comes time for you to either graduate, to look for an internship, my hope is that this time next month, or this time by the end of the semester, you search yourself, and you're no longer invisible on the internet. You're no longer invisible online. That's a great question. It looks like we've got about a minute or so left. Are there any other
Actually, I'm going to step in, Daniel.
Sure.
And excuse me, if you could launch the poll, please, Josh. So the first poll is, what is your level of knowledge about writing a LinkedIn profile after today's session?
Oh, very cool. I love seeing that. And I meant what I said. Let me put my email in. I'm happy to do a critique of your LinkedIn now as you build it.
Okay, we have a few more people to enter your data there. Just a couple more people. All right, and we will close the poll at that. All right. Please take a screenshot, Josh, and then launch the second question. So you can see 60 to 80% of the people felt that they learned how to write a profile.
Jan, I'm just going to chime in real quick there. For the individuals that felt they didn't learn anything additional, please make a career counseling appointment with me. I will go into some serious depth for you and really tailor it to your particular needs.
All right, we have our next question here. What is your level of knowledge about connecting with a recruiter through LinkedIn after today's session? Here we go. I love these flying numbers.
Oh, it's so fun to see polls in real time like this.
Couple more people. There we go. They're coming in. Couple more, few more seconds that will leave this poll open. There we go.
Thank you all so much for attending today.
Okay, end the poll, please, Josh. So people felt like they really increased their knowledge. So go ahead and end that poll and take a screenshot. And you can see that 60 to 80% of the people really felt like they know how better to connect with a recruiter. All right, so I'd like to say thank you to our speaker today, Daniel Lovich. He is a career counselor at Cal State Northridge, so please feel free to connect with him either through his email that he put out there, or you can connect, so he's on drop-ins and whatnot. Also, I'd like to say thank you all for coming to today's event, as well as many other events throughout the week. It's been an extraordinary experience. And if you have any questions, you can always follow up with us. If you have questions about internships, my email is career.internships@csun.edu. And Jessica will put that into the chat. And at that, we will say thank you. And please go to our CSUN Career Center YouTube channel to view all the sessions from this week. Thank you so much. Goodbye now.